Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to the K Pasa podcast and reviews. And today we have a concerned mother that is here and she wants to discuss her 10-year-old son that she has tried therapy, she's tried medication, and she's tried to take advice from her family members, and nothing seems to work. And I would like to say before we start this that I am not a licensed therapist, and this is for entertainment purposes, but I am here to help. Carla, are you there?
I'm here.
Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, let's get right into it. You calling about your son, your 10-year-old son. That's kind of young, and that's most people would say it's young for a 10-year-old to be in therapy on medication. It must be a serious problem, or you must be very concerned about your son's behavior. I would think. Can you tell me a little about your son and his
Yeah.
situation? When does it?
yeah.
Does he? Let me ask you this first. Do you think, or have you? I'm sure if he's on medication, you have taken him to see doctors. What was the diagnosis of your son when you took him to see someone?
Depression and ADHD.
ADHD. And what age was that?
This was about 4.
At 4 years old, what made you take your son? What kind of signs did he give you that something was wrong? What did you notice?
So at 4, you as a parent, you don't really just understand, hey, that my child might have ADHD or depression. It kind of when you're at 4 years old, you're in daycare, and you got a few teachers that constantly tell you, hey, he doesn't listen, or hey, he's not following directions. But then you have family members that be like, oh, he just a boy. And, oh, let him be a boy. And what really spiked it off for me was at 5 years old in kindergarten, where I had to go to the school and realize my son was just not focused, period. Like he wasn't into nothing. He could not tell me what went on in school because he was not focused.
So that was your indication. Did
That's
you notice it, or what? Did a teacher bring it to your attention?
I noticed when I came and sat in the room because I asked could our parents sat at the time, to watch to see, what could be the issue. And sitting watching, I observed that my child was not focused at all.
So he stood out from the rest of the class.
Yes, from a
So
lot of
so they
yes,
were focusing, but he was not.
right.
Okay, was it just that one time, or did you have
So
any more indications?
it was a few more other times. From there, it led on to the fact of when he was in pre-K, it rang back. When he was in pre-K, to the fact that it just wasn't sticking to him. You would always think, okay, do my child have a developed issue? But it never was my child. It was just the fact that, and then I always thought like maybe the teacher ain't catching his attention, or maybe class isn't fun enough for him. And it really wasn't him. It was just he really wasn't focused. So it led on from that, from me saying, okay, maybe I need to try something. And I'm gonna be that parent advocate because at the end of the day, as a parent, there's nothing you wouldn't do for your child. I don't know about nobody else, but I know for mine, there is nothing to no extent on the earth that I wouldn't do for my child.
Yeah, I understand that. So at this age, was he still 4 years old? When
It was
the day you took him to the doctor to get him checked
the
out,
day
what was the age of him?
5.
5 years old. And
Yes.
did somebody recommend a place to take him, or did you find it on the internet? How did you find that location?
So the pediatrician did recommend a few places, and then I went on the internet and did my own research because as a parent, you have to do the research as well. So I went to it's a place called Easter Seals. I loved it. It was amazing. They actually did. This wasn't medication involved or anything at the time. This was just one-on-one group therapy, learning your child, taking yourself out the parent and putting yourself above the cloud to see yourself as the parent and seeing it from the child's point of view. So we went through all of that when it came down to therapy. I loved it. We had weekly sessions every 2 weeks, and it was worth it.
Did you see how long did that last, and did you see any improvement? And how long
So
did the improvement take,
so
if
that
any?
that lasted for about till about 7, because you outgrow that program. So till about 7, when he turned 7, I saw the improvement, but I saw the decrease still in that learning. Like, I saw the improvement to the fact that our relationship as mother and son was getting better, and to the fact that the school work has been lacking. And it has been lacking due to the fact that you're still not focused. So the therapist was also saying maybe it's time to try a medication to keep him focused during class. And don't get me wrong, yes, a lot of people are going to be like, well, I don't think medication is for everybody, or they always try to stereotype our kids with medication. I'm sorry, but it works.
So it did work.
It worked, yes.
How so did it
worked.
work? What type of improvements did you see from the medication?
When I said my child went from just a regular student to a straight AB honor roll student, like, to the fact that I know my child, and it wasn't the fact that I had to push him to constantly do work every day. It was to the fact that he would come home and all of his assignments are completed because he focused and paid attention.
Okay. So you said it got better.
It got a lot better.
Okay, I'm following you. You say that it got better, and he was 7 years old at this time?
He was 7, yep.
Okay. So the reason why we're on this call today is because you said it's been some change since then.
Yes. Yes.
So it's evident that you noticed some sort of decrease in his mood or mood swings, or
So he does have some mood swings. So the fact of the mood swings is like, so every boy wants their father around. He does not have his father around. It's not that it's not that, how can I say it? It's not that he doesn't know his father. He knows his father. It's just his father does not is not in his life. Let's just go ahead and put it like how it is. He's not. He's not active in his life. He's not there. It went from his daddy being around for a while till about maybe 4ish. Then 5, it went to probably holidays every other 2 weeks or something like that. And then it went from just holidays to just whenever I feel like it.
Okay. So the whole time that well, not the whole time, but since his birth up until he started having these issues in class at 4 years old, his father was around.
Yes.
And he was supportive of his situation and everything he was going through.
Yes.
So were you and his father in a relationship at this time?
No.
But he was locally.
He was local. When our son was born, we were not together.
Okay. When he was born, y'all weren't together like a couple?
No, we were together. Okay, so we were together when I found out I was pregnant. We weren't in a relationship when we found out I was pregnant. I had fibroids, so I found out late pregnancy. And when it was time to get ready to have them, we end up being we're parents, but we did what we have to do to be parents. But no, we were not together. We were not in a relationship. There was no me, you, family. No, it was you, mom, I'm mom, your dad. That was it.
So y'all never lived together in the same house.
Negative. We never lived together.
So was he at the hospital when your son was born?
Yes. Clip umbilical cord, everything. Yes.
Okay, sounds like a stand up guy
If,
at
if
first.
that's
At first,
as
in the beginning. I say at the beginning because I'm assuming you trying to get to a part where everything
yeah,
came changed or
it,
came crashing down in a way.
it
Um
has.
what so you say he's more distant and you think that has something to do with the way your son has changed?
Yes, I do.
So at
Yes.
what age did he start to become distant? Because you say your son was doing good up until he was 7 years old. When he started the medication, he was doing fine. So
Right.
at age
But
7, go ahead.
but the distance but the distance started about 5. The distance started about 5, but I still had my child on track because I made sure he took his medicine. He was okay. It was kind of one of them. I'm a I'm gonna do what I got to do for my child.
Okay. So the distance, how did the distance start at 5? What did you see his father doing differently than stuff that he used to do that he stopped doing or he changed or
So it
what
used
happened?
to be. So it used to be I would come get him when I get off, or he would come get not me, but he would come get him when he get off, or oh, what y'all doing this weekend? I'm gonna get him this weekend, or like our co-parent communication fell apart. Like it went from you seeing your child almost every day to maybe every 2 weeks,
And that
and then it
last
went 2 weeks to every holiday,
every
every important holiday it is.
so how did you feel about that? How
Huh?
was the relationship between you and the father? How was that relationship? You
Now,
noticing that it's changing? Did you speak on it? Did you bring it up? Why are you changing? Did you try to figure out what's going on in the man's life? Did you say
so
anything or you act like it didn't bother you?
so as a mother, I'm always gonna have my child's back and ask, hey, what's up, what's wrong, vice versa. It was just to the fact of, oh, nothing. You living your life, I'ma live mine. Okay, applaud. Not gonna stop you from that. But it was also to the fact of, how the streets talk with the T. Um, they pretty much was like, why he not around no more. He an undercover brother and this and that and blah blah blah. But at the end of the day, we have a child together. And yes, you probably about to say, I don't want that person around my child and this and that type
Hold
of
on, wait a
person
minute.
around.
Hold on, wait a minute. Hold on for a second. Let's back it up a little bit. You said the
Okay.
streets were talking and the T were coming up. Uh,
That
the
he's an
undercover.
undercover.
What you mean by that?
So a few people have been telling like a picture, some other stuff leaked out of him being gay.
Okay. So that was the word in the streets that you heard about your kid's
Yeah,
father.
yes.
Okay, so you brought it to his attention. Did y'all have a conversation about it?
So that was the thing. I'm that type of person, and because I'm your child's mother, I feel like you should be able to come talk to me about something like that. Vice versa, regardless of the situation, we have a child together. If that's something I need to know, that's like with me and my relationship. I let you know ahead of time. Look, because of that, I feel like that's out of respect for the child, period. But at the same point of time, I felt like that's something you should have came to me. Yes, I did ask you, but your exact words were no, you're not gay. So, I mean, I don't know what else. I couldn't go nowhere else from that. If you
So,
can,
so,
I can't.
so, what do you believe
I,
as a person that knows him or used to deal with him and been knowing him for years and years and years? What's your thoughts on it? Even though he told you no, how do you feel about it?
so honestly, I don't. I want to say, I'm gonna be as honest as possible. I really don't give two fucks, but I do feel like it's a possibility he might be. I do feel like that
What makes you say that?
because to me, when your whole demeanor changes, like at one point you used to be all about a female, so now it's like you exploit yourself to be a person that you're not. And I just think like you switch harder than me. You do stuff harder than me as a female. So it's kind of like a
So you trying to say
it's
the way that he walks is an indication that
to me,
has he always walking a certain way, walked a certain way? Has he
no.
switching up so he walks differently now?
Yes. There is a difference to the walk.
Okay, okay. So do you think him? Let's just say, for the sake of argument, he is gay, and but he told you he wasn't. But for the sake of argument, let's just say he is. Do you think that is part of the reason the distance came into play? Like the
Yes.
way he started acting towards his son, do you think that had a part to play with it in it?
But to I can't answer that. I don't know because my thing is that's still your child. Like I don't know how else to put that because at the end of the day, your child should come first, regardless of whatever decision you choose or you make. That's something you got to answer, not me. But at the end of the day, your child should still be your number one priority.
Okay. But let's get back to your son. So you say his father not coming around. That's the issue. The issue is not that he is gay, if he is gay, but the issue is, or the problem is, he stopped coming around.
Right.
And that was a direct effect of your son acting out or
Behave.
acting a different way
Yes.
because his father acting like he didn't want to see him anymore.
Yes. That has been a major impact on his behavior.
Did your son ever verbally say that?
Yes.
How did he say? How did he bring it up? How did
So
that
we
come
were
about?
so I asked them and I was like, hey, like talk to me honestly. What's going on? What's wrong? And his response was, Mom, I'm gonna be honest. I want attention, but I don't. It's not that you don't give me the attention. I want the attention I used to get from my father. Well, he said it's daddy, but yeah. And I was like, what do you mean? Well, he's not around for me to get for him to get the attention. And I could honestly cope and understand where he's coming from because I was that same child. I didn't have my father either. So I do understand. I had my stepdad, but I didn't have my biological father.
What was your situation with your father?
My my father, excuse me for using these words, but my father, I called him a world class um thought bucket. But it's about 12 of us to be honest. We found out my dad, it was 12 of us when my dad died. But my dad just had a undercover life. He just didn't want nobody to know exactly what was going on. I mean, I knew a little bit. I knew he had another wife. Um, I knew I had two older siblings, but that was it. I didn't know about all the other siblings. But my dad just he was in a different state, living a whole different life with a whole nother wife. So it wasn't it was just to the fact that he wasn't around. It wasn't because of him. It was really his wife that didn't want him around us because she felt like that would take from her kids the fact that my dad was being their father.
So how did that make you feel?
Honestly, at first, I'm gonna be honest. Honestly, at first, it hurt. It was emotional. Um, I didn't quite understood because I used to sit up and he would call. He would say he's coming for Christmas or Thanksgiving, and I used to be that child, little 12-year-old sitting at grandma's door waiting on him because he would respect my stepdad. He never came to the house. He would come to my grandma's house to get me, and I would always stay up waiting at my grandma's house. And grandma would always be right there with the pillow, the tissue, and the blanket. Baby, you ready to go eat? It's 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, and I'm still sitting up waiting on them. So I can understand.
So how old were you at this point when your grandmother used to wipe your tears? What were your age? What was your age at this time? Do you remember?
Anywhere anywhere from about 12 to about 16.
So how does that make you feel? Does that is that something that you have carried with you up into adulthood?
Yes, it has caused a lot of my anxiety and depression. It has caused a lot of chaos and me finding the love of my life. Um, because they always say a girl is daddy's first love. And it was real hard.
So do you look at your situation and your son's situations as similar?
Very similar, yes.
So you can
So I
almost feel,
his pain, yes. Yes.
okay, so did
And
you
I
ever
always tell
deal with it? Did you ever deal with the pain that you felt inside? I mean,
so as a
go ahead.
child, I couldn't really say I dealt with it because I always balled it up and did other stuff. Like I tried to do other stuff to like not let it bother me. So that's when all the anxiety and depression build up and everything. As a mom, I try to not have my son go through that because I don't know how anybody else feel, but me, that is one of the worst feelings ever is to see your child and understand the same pain you went through. And I'm sorry, I would take any pain from my kids when I was younger. I don't want them to ever feel none of the pain that I felt when I was younger. So the lifestyle I raise them now is the lifestyle I want to give them because they will never be able to handle the pain that I used to have.
So you know for sure that you never dealt with this pain before, right? Or
Ever dealt with it.
you never
No.
dealt with it. Okay.
Mm-mm.
So what stopped you? I want to know what stopped you from seeking therapy if it's something that you know you never dealt with before. To try to bring
So
some type of closure.
because here was my closure. This might be why I didn't seek therapy behind it. My closure, and I'm sorry to say this, and I hope I don't offend anybody, but when my dad died, that was it for me. I didn't cry. I didn't shed a tear. It was just one of the moments where, okay, chapter closed.
So you didn't answer my question. What made you, because that's not closure. That's not I'm dealing with the pain. That's not understanding why my father left me, why he didn't love me. That's not like letting it out or whatever. That's just like they dead and that's it. I mean, when I said closure, I didn't mean death. I meant
Right, I
like,
get what you mean, but that was for me. That's what I'm saying. So I couldn't really answer that because for me, When he passed, that was my closure. Like, I didn't have to deal with it anymore. It wasn't a question on my head anymore, because at the end of the day, I knew my stepdaddy loved me, but I still couldn't understand why this man that helped give birth to me, or was the sperm that helped give birth to me, didn't love me. I couldn't understand that. And to me, as the person that I am now, I just kind of felt like it wasn't meant for me to figure that out.
So do you still think about your father?
Nope.
Did you used to?
What do you mean?
After
Before he passed?
after he died, did you
Oh
think
no.
about him?
So
Do you wish you would have made things right with your father,
that,
or vice
I was about
versa?
the only thing I must say that hurt was the fact that he wanted to be a grandfather to my son. And I was okay with that. The fact that me and him couldn't mend our father's daughter relationship was the fact that he wanted to be a grandfather to my son. And I was okay with that, to be honest. Because at the end of the day, my son does not have a granddaddy now.
So it must have been some type of communication between y'all two, because he wanted to be. How did he know that you had a son? I mean,
My,
it was some
my mom,
communication.
nope, it was my mom. I promise, it was no communication. It was my mom.
Do you wish you could have, uh, if you had one last thing to say to your father, if you could say something to him, uh, what would it be? What besides asking him questions, what would it be if you had something to say to him? If he could hear you.
To be honest, I would really just want him to know, like, I'm doing it. I'm making it. I've done it. I've done what he couldn't do, but I still love him, because if it wasn't for his hard not love, I wouldn't be the person that I am today.
So do you think your relationship with your father has made you pay more attention to your son?
Yes, yes, I do agree. Yes.
Okay. So at the age of um what age were you when your son told you, let's get back to him, told you that, hey, it's my daddy, he don't pay attention to me? What was the age?
That's okay. So he's 10 now. That was literally about 8, 9.
So did you say did you and his father have a conversation? Hey, this is bothering my son. Hey, you need to do this. What was, did I ask you that? Did you give me an answer to that question?
You didn't ask me that, but yes, I did. I did send out that olive branch of that information. I was like, hey, wanted to let you know your child feels like this towards you
Was that a
because you're
phone
not a.
call, or was that he came to pick him up and it was a face to face?
No, that was an actual phone call.
How did that go?
It went down the drain. It was kind of one of them. Oh, okay, and that was it.
How did you feel about it? How did you feel
Mm,
about that? Did you feel like he was brushing it under the table, or he was going to do better? Did you trust him to do better? Because
No, no, I didn't. No, I didn't. I'm gonna be honest. No,
so
no,
you
but
said, but what? Go ahead.
no, I didn't, because it put me back to where I was with my dad, and it made me feel like, how do I protect my child from this? But at the same point of time, I can't have him hurt behind this comment, but I don't want him to put pride or put his dignity up and think, oh, he said he gonna do better. I didn't tell him how I felt, but then don't nothing happen.
So when it let's go back to your situation. When you were going through what you were going through with your father, did you go to your mother about it?
Yes, I went to my mom, I went to my stepdad, and then I went to his mama. So yes, I did.
What was your mother's reaction when you
Li-
went to her?
Her reaction was go to your dad. She was like, "Well, tell him now. Just tell him how you feel."
Did you do that?
I did. Actually, I did.
What did you say to your mother? What was that conversation like? How did that
So
come up?
me and her was we were in the kitchen, and it was just one of them. She was cooking, and I came in, and I was like, "Hey, mama, can I talk to you?" She was like, "Yeah, what's wrong?" Like, I feel some type of way. And she's like, "About what?" And I was like, "Daddy not home." I was talking about my stepdad. She was like, "No, he's not home. Why? What's wrong?" And I was like, "Well, I feel some type of way towards my real father." And she said, "What done happened now?" I was like, "Well, you get these calls where I call you, sometimes you don't answer, sometimes you text back and say, I'll call you later, or sometimes you'll say, give me a minute, trying to get the family situated." But as a child, and I literally told her, like, as a child, you're trying to figure out what is it that you can't respond back to your child for. And she's like, "Well, now that you growing up, I feel like you should talk to him and tell him that." I said, "But how do you express that to him?"
What was her response?
She was just more of, "Well, I don't want your feelings to be hurt, but at the same point in time, I want you to have I want you to have the result or the answer that you're looking for." She said, "But the answer that you might be looking for might not be something you want to hear." And I never understood that. And I always used to say, "What do you mean?" And she was like, "Sometimes you get what you want to hear and sometimes you don't. But it depends on what you're looking for." Now, if you're looking for your father to be a father, she'll say, I doubt that's gonna happen because he's taking care of another family. Or it'll be to the fact that, or your father might pull a, "Well, you got another man taking care of you, what you need me for?" And he has pulled those cards. And it was a little heartbroken, because it's like, as a child, you don't want to hear that. Well, as a teenager, you wouldn't want to hear that.
So how did it make you feel when she told you that he was taking care of another family? The first time you heard that, how did it make you feel?
I laughed at it, actually. I thought it was funny. I really did. The only reason I said I laughed was because it I couldn't tell you a feeling. So I think that's why I laughed. It was one of them, you joking kind of moment, like a ha ha.
So was the laugh coming from the top or the bottom? You know what I'm saying? Like
I felt
a some
that
laughs
hit,
come from the top and
that,
some go
that hit
ahead
at the bottom.
at the
That
bottom.
did hit at the Yeah.
Did you feel like he was threw you to the side for somebody else? Some
Yes.
other kid your age, or
Yes.
do you think
Most definitely.
do you think your son feel the same way or something similar?
And that's the thing. There is no other child. I have other kids, but
So,
he's the only child on that side.
so you have other kids, okay. How many kids do you have?
I have three altogether.
What are their ages?
10, 5, and 1.
So your son is the oldest.
Yes.
10, 5, and 1. Okay, so that means you had another child when your son was 5?
Yes.
Okay, so and you said his lack of paying attention started when he was 4.
Yes.
So it started before you had a another child, your second child.
Yep.
How did your son respond to you having a second child?
He loved it actually. It was a different I loved that bond. When he found out mommy was pregnant, he used to lay beside me and read a book to her and just I loved it. It was the perfect moment. I really did.
So he responded good to it. So let me ask you this question: during this time, you obviously got pregnant by someone.
Yes.
So was that person living in the house, or was it?
Negative. Negative.
Tell me how that relationship was.
Um, that relationship with Rocky, um, that relationship went overboard. I would say we were together. Everything was fine. Everything was peachy perfect.
How
We did
long?
stay in
How long was it fine?
for about 2 years. For about
So
2 years.
by the person you got pregnant by with your second child, it went fine for 2 years.
Hmm.
So this person was around um your son
Yes.
as well as his father was around. Both of them were around at the same time,
Yes.
showing your son attention.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead. It went fine
So
for 2 years. So your son would have been how old at this time?
would have been about 3, going on 4, somewhere in there.
So I'm saying when you got pregnant with a guy. So he came into your son's life when your son was 3. Your first son was 3,
Yes.
and stayed in his life for 2 years until he was 5.
Yes.
Okay, so as soon as you got pregnant, it got rocky.
Yes. As soon as I got pregnant, it got rocky.
Tell me
And it
what
got
happened.
rocky. So it was just so during that time you go through family members like mom, dad being sick, having cancer, vice versa. And it took a lot out of him actually. He started getting stressed and a lot of people were like telling him where you find her from and where you get her from, and a lot of people said she talked to your daddy. I talked to your daddy because I take him to his chemotherapy treatments, really.
Oh,
So
so you
that
was
got
helping him with his father. His
yes,
father
I
had
was
cancer.
yes, his father had cancer. And it got back just all kind of craziness. I was picking him up out the car and holding his he was holding my back shoulder, and it was just all kind of weird stuff. And then the accusations of me sleeping with his father, and I'm like, from taking him to his chemotherapy treatments to help you out, I'm being accused of sleeping with your daddy. Okay, cool. And I just felt like that just wasn't for me. I just couldn't do it. I wasn't
So
about to go through a pregnancy with no stupidity. That just wasn't for me.
so was that the before or after you gave birth? Did you, the
This was
breakup?
this was while I was pregnant. It was while I was pregnant.
You remember how many months
I was
pregnant?
probably about maybe 3 months.
3 months. So that's like at the beginning. What's that? The first
Yep.
trimester? Second? I don't
Mm,
know.
did it the first trimester.
First trimester.
Hmm.
Okay, so you was with this person for 2 years, and then you get pregnant, and then y'all break up as soon as you get pregnant. Well, yeah. And was this person around your son a lot?
No, not like that. No.
So he wasn't. like a
Act
stepfather, like a
like
friend,
step.
like a throwing the ball?
Yeah, he wasn't a stepfather. He was more of a every other weekend, oh, mommy and her boyfriend kind of thing. Because I worked, went to school, he worked, so it was like one of them kind of, yeah,
So after the baby came, did he come over? S-
negative.
So that
Didn't
was it. When y'all broke up, that was it.
up. That was it.
Oh, okay. All right. So you said a relationship between you and your second child's a boy or girl?
A girl.
A girl. So your son, uh, he loved the big brother role.
Yes, he still does.
So he didn't feel like you were paying more attention to his sister.
Nope.
So when he turned, so he was okay until he turned 7. Then everything started going back down.
Mm-hmm.
And you said the reason is his father stopped hanging around.
Mm-hmm.
So what age did you have your last child? How old was your son? He's 10 now. When did he turn 10?
January.
Of this year?
Yes.
So okay, so we're gonna call him 9 years old because he hasn't lived life as a 10-year-old yet. So we're gonna say 9. So how old was he when you had your last child?
9, 8, going on 9.
So he was
Because
8.
that was, but he was 8 going on
After
9.
you had your last child,
He was 9.
did his attitude change? Did he, for the past 3 years, has he been depressed the whole 3 years? Has his attitude, or did it fluctuate? Have you
It
noticed a difference since you had your last child? Is
it
has he taken on that brotherly um big brother role again since you had this new child? Did you see that like he did the first time?
it fluctuated. Actually, I still seen the big brother role. He still tries to play the big brother. He still tries to play and be the big brother role. Um, I call it the little man of the house. Um, Try to help out where it's needed. Always ask, can he do stuff? Help make a bottle, vice versa. Granted, I tell him he doesn't have to do it because that's not something a child can do. But when you got kids that want to be helpful, I mean, you just can't tell them no.
So how was his schoolwork? Did it
His
change?
school went up and down. Only because we had to readjust medication, only because of his age. So as he got older, medication had to go up some because he was kind of wearing out of the medicine. Like he had done been on it, he had done got used to it. It wasn't helping anymore.
So is it helping now? A little bit
Yeah,
or a lot?
it is, but it's still having where he still goes into his moments or where he has I wouldn't say a depressed moment, but he blurts out and have those extreme aggravate, like he's aggravated, and he'll say he don't want to be here, and it's emotional. It's emotional for a mother to hear stuff like that.
What do you mean by that? He'll say that he doesn't want to be here. What
And
does
when I
that
ask him,
mean to you?
when, to me, it feels like he's saying he doesn't want to be here. Period. Like I don't think in the household. I just think like in life in general. Granted, he doesn't know what that means, but that's how I feel. But when I ask him what does he mean when he says it, he says he just don't want to be around when he's upset or he can't think straight or his feelings aren't like being met or his attention isn't being met. And I'm like, but you can't say stuff like, and I started talking to him like, you can't really say stuff like that because you got kids that commit suicide or talk about wanting to kill themselves or wanting to harm themselves in situations when they say stuff like that. And he'll say, no, not to harm myself. but just to be away from this moment, and which I can understand.
So y'all do talk about it, and
Yes,
y'all
we do.
have been to
But
therapy,
yes, we
and
have done it all.
since therapy, he still says he doesn't want to be here,
Hmm.
even after therapy.
Even therapy, yes.
I mean, is it something he speaks of a lot, or every now
It's
and
not.
then, or
It's like every blue moon when he get mad, or it's a moment where it triggers back to something his dad would do, or if it was a holiday that just recently passed and he know normally his daddy would have came and got him or something, or if it's been a while since his dad. And that's when it happens. It normally happens like in seasons, kind of like, okay, it's been a couple of months. I ain't hear from my daddy, or I know I ain't gonna hear from him. He'll have his little moment. And I'd be like, okay, are you having a moment? And he'd be like, yeah. And I'm like, do we gotta act like this? And he's like, but mom, why me? Which I totally understand. Like, but how do you, what else is that? What else can I do? I don't know what else. What else is he not telling me? Because it's like the more I keep asking for help or keep asking, hey, could you do this? Or try to change the subject so that won't be a topic on your mind. We still come right back to it.
so. How many therapists have you tried?
We have used the same therapist. I don't believe in going. I mean, I do believe in going to different therapists, but I feel like the therapist we have pretty sticks and hits the situation. Um, but with his age, he's gonna have to go to another therapist. So
Okay,
we stay.
have you ever been to therapy?
Yes,
I
I
don't
have.
remember what you if I asked you that when we were talking about it earlier. I don't remember the answer that you gave me. You say yes, you
Yes, I
have.
have. Yes,
Have you been to more than one or just one?
I had. I've had the same therapist for a while.
Okay, so do you feel like is that because I have a therapist too, and I think more men, especially black men, should have go to therapy because it has helped me out a lot. Well, it is helping me out a lot, and I get a lot of stuff off my chest. How do you feel about therapy? Do you like it? You
I,
don't like it? You think it's beneficial? Is it helping you?
it is very beneficial. Yes, it is.
Okay, I like to look at therapists like relationships, like my personal opinion. This is just my opinion. I'm not a licensed therapist or anything like that. But in my personal opinion, I feel like therapy is like relationships. When you when you first get your first or your second or your third boyfriend or girlfriend, you don't automatically meet somebody and stay with them forever. You know what I mean? It takes a while before you meet your husband or your wife. You know how many relationships most people go through before they get married? And then sometimes that doesn't even work. That's not even the right person. So why do people say, okay, I'm gonna go to a therapist and I'm gonna stick with the right this same therapist, but it's not working for me. I don't see any improvement. But I'm going to the same therapist. It doesn't make
You
sense.
get you true, but you get comfortable. That's like saying that's like, and I do agree with the relationship thing, but that's like saying I don't put all my eggs in one basket. Why I'm gonna take one egg and go to the next basket or go to this basket? Then everybody gonna know my business.
My last caller said the same thing. He said he gets comfortable with one therapist and then they switch him up. He stays with them for like 9 months, and then the company or whatever, or they move to a different place and they switch his therapist, and he hates it. But if you have the option and you see that if it's working fine, great. In my personal opinion, if it's working fine, you like it. Like me, I, I just got finished telling you I see some improvement. Okay, if you like it, if you comfortable, you think you improving, great. But if you don't see improvement, hey, break up like a relationship. Go to
And I
another
do see
therapist.
true. That is so true. I see the improvement with mine, and like I said with my son, when we have seen the improvement in everything, but it's just the age now is why I'm gonna have to move him.
Oh, okay. A lot of people say, therapy is not for me. Well, you went to one therapist. Now how can you say it's not for you? I mean, I know people have different reasons for saying it's not for them, but I don't want people to say the person didn't help me, so therapy is not for me. Try a different therapist. It's just like a relationship. Like this girl might not be for you. You gave it a try. It didn't work out. It's not like I'm gonna just not talk to another woman from the rest of my life. I'm gonna get another woman. I'm gonna find another woman or another man. It's like therapy. I want help. I'm 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 gonna keep talking to different people until I find the perfect one, the one that suits me. I mean, that's just my person. Like I said, I'm not a giving out any professional advice or anything like that. But okay, where were we before we got off track? Okay, you say your therapist. Where were we at?
I
Your
don't
your
remember.
therapist. You have went to therapy. Okay, I know what I
Yes.
want to touch on. I'm back to where I wanted to go with this. Okay, you said that you had your last child, and what? It didn't work out.
It did.
It didn't. Your last child.
Well, no, my last child is
Oh,
perfect.
I
My
never asked you that question. Okay,
no, you
so you with a
did.
new man. You with a new
Yes.
man. You with this your last child. You met a new person. How long were y'all together before you got pregnant?
About 5 years, 4 years.
5 years. So he is still with you to this day.
Yes.
Do y'all live together?
Yes.
Are you married?
August.
Are you married?
No, we're not, but August.
Okay, so y'all were together 5 years, and then you got pregnant, and y'all still together.
Hmm.
Okay, that's great. Okay, next topic or subject or where I'm going with this. So your son has a living boyfriend slash
Father.
stepdaddy's
Yep.
father. So how do they get along?
I honestly think he loves their relationship more than me and his relationship. Not to be jealous or anything, but I do. I love it. He loves it. I love it.
So if your answer is they get along great. That's your answer.
Hmm. Yes.
So if they get along so good, and your son is not his situation hasn't improved, but so much, or it fluctuates, or
Fluctuate.
he's still angry with
It's
his
still all
father, and that's not going anywhere. What you think it is now? Since he has that fatherly figure. What you think the problem is now?
I honestly think because I've touched subjects on that with him some. I honestly think he doesn't know how to take his love and share it. He feels like, okay, well, my dad is my dad and I gotta love my dad. But my stepdad is here 24/7. I enjoy this time I spend with him. And it's like I like him, but he's not my dad. I don't think my son knows how to love somebody else just like his dad. Does that make sense?
Well, I want to say, does it make sense to you because you were in that situation?
Well, it does. It makes sense to me, but I was
So
saying he
I've never been in that
like,
situation. I can only speak on feelings that I had before, and I never had that been in that situation. But these are some of the reasons why I ask these questions to see where you coming from, like what type of what happened in your life, And it seems to me like you live this exact same life that your son is living now. So you should know what's wrong. I'm not saying you should know what's wrong with him, but more than anybody else because it
Well, I
happened
can't
to
say,
you before. How
I
did
can't
you
say that
feel?
because I love my stepdad. I still do to this day. There's no doubt about it.
But you
Like I
still
said,
wanted that from your father, though. Is that why
but
you
and the
saying that he still wants it from his father because you
but
wanted
the
that?
reason but the reason I wanted that from my dad was because he addressed it to me that he was my dad. I never knew that I had that somebody else was my dad. I always grew up knowing my stepdad was my dad. And pretty much what I'm saying is if you didn't address it, I wouldn't have known you.
Oh, okay. How old were you? You left that part out. I don't think you said that part. So how old were you then when you found out that that was your father and you found out
About
that your stepdad? So you thought your stepdad was your real father?
about 9 or 10, yes.
Oh, okay. How did that make you feel?
It was just a question mark. Like because growing up, and I grew up with my grandma now. I mean, my mom was still there, but grandma, because mom was always at work. But it was like, you know how the old people tell you ain't supposed to lie, and I'm like, then mama lied to me, and that's kind of how I felt.
You
But it
felt
was like,
betrayed in a way?
yeah, because it's like you can't really say your mama liar, so you be like, mama, you betrayed me. Like how you tell me, how you say this person my daddy, but this person my daddy, or what you trying to say? I got two daddies? Like that ain't adding up. And as a child, you can't. That don't register to you. So it
Yeah.
took a while. It took a while for me to process that.
So at 9, 10 years old, you went through, I don't know how to, I can't
I went through
begin to,
finding out the man that
you
raised
thought
me.
was your daddy is not your
That,
daddy.
right.
Okay. So I mean, you told me the conversation that you had with your mother, but your feeling was what? Question mark.
It was a question mark.
Why isn't he around? Why hasn't he came to me and said, "Hey, I'm your father" sooner? Or do you
Right.
feel like you can relate to your son's situation?
I've always felt like I could relate to him. That's why when he acts out, I know some of the reasons why and the reason behind it. It always goes back to, well, mama, my daddy this. And not to say a lot of people be like, well, they can't always use that as an excuse. Actually, you can, because that's still built up depression and anxiety that you haven't faced.
So have you brought this up to your therapist or his therapist and said,
I have. I have. They've asked numerous of times for like the father to be a part of even a phone call session or something, and that never happens. Or even for to the point where they asked my son to write a note or write a letter, just even if you didn't give it to him, just to tell him how you feel. We've
yeah,
done all of that.
that was I usually don't write questions. And if I do write questions, I try to freestyle my interviews because I want it to be unscripted. But I wrote down 2 questions, and that was one of my questions. I can actually pull it up and just show it to the camera, but it's the only question up here on this side of the paper. And the question is, have you thought about having therapy together with you and the father? And you just touched on it a little bit, but that was one of my questions that I thought about. Um, do you think that's possible? You,
We,
your
I
child,
mean,
and the father?
I, I don't mind doing it, but I don't see where his dad would partake in it.
Do you think he wouldn't, or you have already tried and gotten a no?
I've already tried numerous of times, and at this point, I'm not gonna try no more.
So you done gave up. You gave up.
Yeah, I
You,
get it.
you you can't say that. You can't say that. I mean, you can say
I
that, but it's
told
not
her,
right. You can't say. And once again, I
right.
can't give it. I don't want to be giving up therapist advice. Like I'm a therapist or anything. So this is my personal opinion. I don't think you should give up on your son's health, mental health, or
No, I'm not giving up on his help,
like
but I giving
you
up on
trying
trying to
to.
get him to be
But
involved.
your therapist. Let's clear this up now. Your therapist did say that that would be a good idea.
Yeah,
So me and the therapist on the same page.
but when you tried multiple times and then you just was like, "Huh, you have the number. You try now," and that's where I'm at. But until you get it, then we can do something from there.
So how did you try? Did you try like
It's been phone calls.
but
It's
that
been
yeah.
it's been through all.
I know the ways that you can get in contact with them,
Oh,
but your voice, your demeanor, your attitude, how was it?
um,
What was it?
both
Well,
both
you say it was
tones.
what now?
It was being a mother in both tones.
What does
It
that
was.
mean? What does that
I
mean?
wouldn't say so. To me, being a mother is when I'm being concerned and it per- pertains our child, and I come to you on a serious note, then that's something you should. That's your child. Like that's something you should partake in,
So you was
regardless
screaming.
of what it is.
So you was almost screaming or fussing.
No, I wouldn't be screaming. No.
Would you? How did you say it? Say it to me like you said it.
So I called, the phone rings. Hey, so our son is in therapy. He's having some issues and he wants to touch on. And the therapist would like to know, would you like to have either a video conference or a phone conference with us so we can touch on some things and see if that could help? The response would be, maybe if I got the time.
So what did you say? When is a good time for you?
So when is a good time for you? I don't know. I'll have to get back with you on that. And that's the end of it. Don't never hear nothing else about it.
Okay. Man, don't give up on it because it popped in my head that that's something that could be beneficial. Um,
I mean, I want closure for my son. I do because uh, you get you get you get emotional behind things like this when your child tells you the stuff that I've I've mentioned to you. Like it's emotional. Like what parent wouldn't want their child to be helped?
sounds like you've been going through a lot. And you went through a lot as a child, and I'm just happy that you're with someone now that can be a father because a lot of people don't grow up with their biological fathers. A lot of men, there are a lot of good men out here that step up and be fathers. Um, and there are a lot of bad ones too that just walk away. So I'm glad you've been with somebody for the last how long has it been now? 6 years, 7 years?
Yeah.
Y'all been together?
It's,
Yeah, I know it's a lot of kids out here crying for the real fathers, and it's just not gonna happen. I wish every life could be perfect, but thank God for stepfathers.
right.
But what what do you want to happen from here? What's your goal with your son, pertaining to your son? It seems like you're
To
happy in your relationship. It seems like you're on the path to happily ever after, but you just need to fix this situation with your son, and the picture will be complete. So, what's your goal with your son
with
moving
my son,
forward?
it's you to figure out how we can go forward without having these moments or having these behaviors and just where he's upset and angry and mad and just to where we can just be okay. Like, I guess so he can get his mind off of it. And I'm not saying like get his mind off of it, but be at peace with it. This like it's okay to still have that thought of why my daddy, because like I said, you would always have that thought in the back of your head, but as a child, to constantly go from having your dad by you to just not having them at all, that could be a real emotional roller coaster. And that's what I'm going through. Kind of want the roller coaster to stop so me and my son can, so everything can just be back perfect.
Yeah. I hope everything work out for you and your son. Um I remember when I you got in contact with me and said you wanted to come on. I asked you um what did you want to accomplish by doing this interview? And your response was one of your responses that touched me a little bit and had me thinking. You wanted to know what isn't your son telling you. What did you mean
Yeah.
by that? How do you feel? Do
So,
you feel it's something that your son isn't telling you?
yes, because when we get to the subject of his dad, he always feels like he has to keep that part balled up because I don't talk about, and that's another thing. So he asked me, how did I deal with my dad situation? And I told him I really never had a chance to deal with it. I kind of brushed it off and continued living my life. I said, but I don't want that for you. And he said, but mom, I don't know how to express or cope with that feeling. Which any, which a 10-year old can tell you he don't know how to express that, then he probably doesn't. He doesn't know how to express the fact that my daddy not here no more. That just hurts. Like he doesn't. He's 10.
Yeah, it can be difficult for a parent listening to a
And it's
child articulate pain.
right. And it's hard because it's like he tries to cope with it. He tries to do other stuff. Like now he reads. And when I say the boy reads and just reads. And I'm like, you don't want to do something else? And he preferred to read. He would pick up a book and read it in a heartbeat. Like that's his coping mechanism, I feel. And I feel like he should be able to express or talk to me or want to tell me the part of his dad not being around. But I think he's probably to a point where he's like now, because literally now he just say it. Like the last conversation probably was a birthday, and it was like, oh, we was something about we gonna go to Disney World soon, and he was like, oh, okay, we'll see. And I just looked at the phone like, did you really just say that? And his dad response was, that sounded like something your mama made you say. I didn't say that. I didn't. Like I really didn't. He said it. He said no. I just know I probably won't talk to you till about Christmas. I said, wow. Like wow.
Yeah, it's kind of heartbreaking, but
Right.
no one's perfect. I mean, on the I hate defending people that I don't know or standing up for people that I don't know, but you never know what somebody's going through
True.
to make them, you know. I try to get everybody the benefit of the doubt and look at it from both sides. So
I've tried that, but as a mother, I have to be a mother. So I've gotten to a point where I just take care of my child and I just leave it like that. If it happens, it happens. If it don't, I, God bless, keep it moving.
well, yeah, I pray everything works out for you, but I want to thank you for coming on my show, my podcast, and sharing what you're going
I
through.
think I thank you for listening. I think sometimes that's all you need to.
And I want to say this too, while it's on my heart to say it. Do whatever you can do to bring closure to your son's situation with his father, and not let it be death, because you said your closure came when your father died, and that's something that stuck with me and touched me, that you said. And when it comes to your son's situation, I hope that's not the case.
I do too. Yeah, I know I am a little cold hearted when it how it sounds, but
Nah,
I mean
I'm
that.
not saying that. That's not what I'm saying at all.
But
But I just don't
saying,
want it to be the case.
but that's
I would
what.
hate for him to say the same thing years later. I
Yeah,
got closure when he died. I mean, that's kind of heartbreaking. I mean,
yeah.
it's some people might see it as cold, but I see it as heartbreaking. So do whatever you can to keep that from being the case. But thanks for coming on the show. All
I appreciate it.
right. Have a good one.